fill up 4 huge water bottles for the kids to sit down afterwards, like holding.
I'd like to call the Madison Public Schools Board of Education meeting to order. Please rise and face the flag in the air for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'd ask that everybody remain standing after the pledge for a moment. I'll explain in a moment what that's for. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to ask for a moment of silence to memorialize the passing of one of our recent Daniel Hand graduates from 2021, Eliza Becchia, who succumbed to injuries sustained in a motor vehicle accident. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. Okay. Item number 2, school community session. This is an opportunity for public participation, and Emily will go over the ground rules for that.
Yes, thank you. The board welcomes public comment at our meetings. When speaking, we ask that you state your name and your address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. I will give you a notice when you have 30 seconds left, and again when your time is up. Please speak on one topic for public comment session. The board is happy to hear from our community, but at a business meeting like tonight, it should not be expected that the board or the administration will respond. The public comment period is not a time for public discussion. If necessary, the community member will be contacted for follow-up. Do we have any members of the public who would like to speak this evening?
I would like to speak. Ben, I'm Matthew Guarneri. I'm from Clinton, Connecticut. I'm president of the Italian American Defense League, member of the Italian American Alliance, and of the Italian One Voice Coalition. I prepared a statement today that I'll read. Dr. Cook, Chairperson Klaskin, and members of the board. The Policy Committee tabled the review of Policy 6030 at its May 24th meeting. On the district calendar, the second Monday of October is listed as school holiday with no mention of Columbus Day. The policy states the Board of Education shall establish an official school calendar which shall show the number of school days in each month, legal and local holidays. Observe Labor Day, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Thanksgiving Day, Thursday and Friday, Martin Luther King Day, Good Friday, and Memorial Day as holidays for students. I ask, will the Board of Education add Columbus Day in October? The Board of Education is not following its own policy of recognizing legal holidays. Columbus Day was established as a federal holiday, first honored in 1971. Some board members may be compelled to add Indigenous Peoples Day to the second Monday of October side by side with Columbus Day in the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion. That couldn't be further from the truth. Political revisionists, including the late communist USA member Howard Zinn, began discrediting America's founding in the 1970s. Placing Indigenous Peoples Day on Columbus Day makes the day an anti-American and decolonization holiday. No one in this room believes the Board of Education should take that radical political stance. Honoring Indigenous Peoples Day on the Friday after Thanksgiving has more precedent during Native American History Month than in October during Italian Heritage and Culture Month. On 4 occasions, Congress and the sitting president signed into law legislation that recognized Native Americans. First with Native American Month in November, and that happened in 1986. Then Native American Week in the week of Thanksgiving of 1990. Then with Native American Day on the Friday after Thanksgiving in 2008. And finally, Native American Day was recognized as a recurring day each year beginning in 2009 on the Friday after Thanksgiving. Fix this calendar issue tonight by a minimum 2/3 vote to amend tonight's agenda, then restore Columbus Day to the school calendar. And you're able to do this tonight with the most inclusive solution, with all the wonderful work this Board of Education does. Understand how meaningful this is to all patriotic Americans, and especially Italian Americans. Let's move on with this issue, add it to the calendar, and adding the language of Columbus Day and Indigenous Peoples' Day to the policy could come at the next policy meeting and then be adopted by this board. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you please email your statement to the board for me, please?
I will.
Thank you. Do we have any other members of the public who would like to speak this evening? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, now for the Board of Education Student Representatives Report, Isabel Vagel and Lucy Fritzinger, who are joining us this evening, and not just in a square TV box.
Should we come stand up? Like, we didn't even know the procedure.
You don't need to, you can report from there, that's great, thank
Sounds
you.
good. So first, I'll talk a little bit about what's going on for seniors. So last week, on Saturday, we had our senior prom, which was a really fun and wonderful night. We got the perfect weather. It was the most magical day possible. Everyone was taking pictures of the green, and it was sunny, and it was warm, but not too warm. Not a crazy wind that was messing up all of our fancy hairdos, blowing around our dresses, but just enough that no one was sweating buckets. And there was even an ice cream truck to accompany the whole event for all of the younger siblings running around on the field. And we all had a really fun time with our families, and then we all headed off and had a wonderful experience. The venue was decorated beautifully, and we had a great time spending time with each other and taking pictures together and celebrating our last moments together as a class. And then yesterday and today marked the last 2 normal days of classes for seniors. And today was my official last day. I haven't had any work since last Thursday, so it's kind of been a little bit relaxing, but it's been really fun. And today we celebrated our day with lots of class parties and trips to the turf field outside. I played lots of kickball on the turf field and threw many, many frisbees and had a wonderful day. And then this week continues with senior exams for students who have them. So I happen to not have any, but many other students do. And once we all finish those up, then we'll be all set and ready to graduate. Today we celebrated our Paul Curran, who was nominated as the yearbook distinguee, like a gay, whatever however you say it, for this year. And the yearbook committee made a lovely speech about him, and it was really nice to see all the students come out and support him and speak in his name. And then we all were handed out our yearbooks, and everyone watched a little video about our superlatives, and we had a lot of fun. It was just like a fun, happy event to finish off our day. And on Friday, we will all get our caps and gowns, which we're all very excited for. All of the girls that I know are a little bit worried about the time frame because we have to decorate our caps. I know a friend who's asking for a special exception to get her cap early so that she can embroider it. So we're all very excited about that, but the time frame's a little bit short, I might say. And then going forward, we're going to have graduation rehearsals on Monday and Tuesday, and senior brunch this week and next week too. So we've got lots of events going on right now, but it should be a really exciting time. And everyone I know is happy, and the anticipation's starting to grow. I think it hasn't sunk in for really any of us yet. Like how close we are to being done and how we might never see some of these people again. But it's still a really wonderful and happy time, and we're all grateful to be experiencing it together.
Well, sitting here as a junior and hearing everything that's going down behind me, I'm like, wow. But everyone in the junior class is really looking forward to that. I mean, we're going to be so sad to see the seniors go. Every single time we've been in this building, we've had them with us, so to know next year we'll be filling their shoes in that position, it's just kind of mind-blowing to think about. But the number one question on everyone's mind is, when can we start parking in the coveted parking? But aside from that, our underclassmen exams are coming up next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then additionally, in wrapping up the year, we have our sports team. So baseball is playing right now at Dunkin' Donuts Park. It just started about 45 minutes ago. And so best luck to them, Mr. Cook. I understand that you have some connections with who they're playing.
I do, yeah. It's tough night, probably.
So I hope you're really fan. Yeah, we trust you to make the right decision. So yeah, and then additionally we also had our class officer essays and elections last week. So everyone in the class of freshman, sophomore, junior could apply for this position, write a short essay, then it was voted upon by the entire student body during one of our second period classes. So congratulations to everyone that was selected as being a class officer next year. I look forward to working alongside with them at our meetings, and it's going to be a good year. Yeah.
That's about everything from us.
Any questions for the students?
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. You made it another year and you're done.
If you want to go look at my embarrassing baby pictures, they're in the hallway.
I'd just like to say, Isabel, you've done a fabulous job, and I'm going to miss you a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that came out a little bit early because we're going to save those comments for the superintendent. No, that's okay. Thank you. This whole place is out of order. No, I'm kidding. All right, so now we get to the superintendent's report, and we will get to recognize our special student representatives.
Galen, you want to say anything?
No, just bubble over.
I'll just start and I'll turn it back over to Chairman Koskin because we have something to recognize you both with. But I will just say, Isabel, you were on the board when I started, before I started in very difficult times going through COVID and, the district being, remote a lot. And you just have always been the same, just very happy and positive and just sharing all the good that's going on. And so it's been truly, some of my best moments in the board meetings is having your report. So it's, I really appreciate it and kind of feel like we have a special connection because, you were on the board when I started. And I'll just say too, you talked about some downtime you're having now. You earned every minute of that because you have one of the most difficult schedules I've ever seen a student take. And so the reason why you have that time is because you already took AP courses, a test, and you already took, reached the level where you don't have to take a final. So enjoy these last few weeks and summer before you start college. So but really appreciative of everything you've done. And Lucy, we're so excited to have you for one more year with us. And you've been very similar, very positive reports and very helpful. And I just appreciate all the time you both put into this. It's great to have you here. I'll turn it over to.
I'll actually open it to any board members who wanted to say anything quickly.
It's nice to see you in person.
Yeah.
I have to say that this is probably the hardest I've smiled in 2 years, it feels like. It's almost like mind-blowing, but all of our work that we do is in service of you, our students, pre-K through 12. And it's so lovely to see kids make that progression and to see you, talking about graduation and how excited you are, and also your baby picture in the hallway. And so, all of our energy and all of our efforts are in service of you, and it's wonderful to see you here. I'm not kidding when I say that my face has not felt like this in a very long time, and it's just so lovely to have you in person. And I feel like a proud mom to see you off to the world, but thank you for all you've done, and thank you for representing all of the students in our district, and best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I also want to thank you, and it has been a tough couple years, and I appreciate how even when meetings may have been stressful or you always brought such positivity and optimism, and you highlighted all the great, good things that were happening in our schools, even when things were pretty hard. So I really appreciate you bringing that positive messages to us and staying upbeat and throughout it all. So we really appreciate that.
Galen, you sure you don't want to say anything else?
I'm so sorry. Just say, it's like, we really appreciate the perspective that you provide because you're there every day and you articulate it so well. It helps everybody, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I would just add to, well, first of all, adopt what everyone has already said thus far and add to that. Thank you for the commitment that you both give and have given. Thanks for being substantive student representatives and not just, reading a tick list of, the principal wanted me to say this, the principal wanted me to say that. It really is good that you bring your own kind of reporting to us, and we greatly appreciate that. Especially being in touch with how the students have felt through the whole COVID thing. It's greatly appreciated, thank you. And it's not only reporting on the positive, but also some of the things that are, just what's going on. And it's helpful for us to kind of keep our ears to the rails and hear some of that as well. And so, in appreciation, I would like to call you both up to give you a little appreciation. Fortunately, we live in Madison, and that means you get RJ Julia gift cards to thank you both for your awesome service.
Thank you.
And I did joke, I saw Lucy a couple weeks ago at an event, and I joked with her, and I said, you definitely look taller in person than you do on TV. So, thank you both. Next.
Sure. And so being the board student rep in Madison is a big job. And so you get to come back for another year, Lucy, and 20 more chances or so to speak and share updates with the board. And joining you next year is Eli Ackerman. So Eli, thank you for being here tonight. I know as well it's hard to get selected, so you went through quite a process to get to this point. And I'm going to turn it over again to Chairman Klaskin because he was part of that selection process. So.
Yes, thank you. Welcome. I know you'll work very well with Lucy, and she'll kind of take you under her wing, and you guys will work well together. It was interesting, eye-opening, and a phenomenal opportunity for me to be part of the selection process this year. It was the first time I ever had the opportunity to do that, and I can assure you that the competition was stiff, and there were some really good applicants, and Eli, you rose to the top, and we greatly appreciate your taking on this responsibility and this role. Your application was very impressive, and you were genuinely excited when we called you down to the principal's office. Not for anything bad, but to let you know that you had been appointed to the position. So, thank you. I will ask this, that again, we do appreciate as a board having substantive reports. And one of the things that our board is very committed to is student wellness, mental health, school climate, and that sort of thing, especially these days. So if the two of you are able to kind of check in with your classmates and make sure, obviously do your part to make sure that your friends are okay, but if you can report back on occasion how things are going in that regard, we would greatly appreciate it in the future. Thank you so much, and congratulations to your mom, Eli.
Welcome.
Welcome. Did you want to say anything, or you?
I don't have anything. I wasn't prepared to speak.
No, that's okay. Well, thank you so much, and congratulations, and thank you.
Welcome.
And we do always share with the students that after your report, you are free to go. We know how busy you are, but you are also free to stay for the whole meeting.
Sure. So I just have one last thought, because I do have to head out. I'm about to drive to Vermont. But I'm incredibly grateful for my experiences with all of you over the last 2 years, and I'm also incredibly grateful to the district. I've been consistently amazed. I've been involved with student government in some shape or form since 6th grade, and through my entire experience, I've noticed that every teacher, every school counselor, every administrator cares sincerely and deeply about the student perspective, and everyone will always take the time to listen. And I'm so grateful for all of you for always taking the time to be supportive and kind and open to listening and talking with students. and really embracing their perspectives and caring about their opinions. Like every Tuesday morning, Lucy and I get to meet for 30 minutes in Mr. Salutary, and it's a great moment of discussion because we're not only talking about like what we're going to say tonight, we're also talking about all these things that we don't say, like little things of like, my friend was wondering this, like, what do you think about an idea like that? Or we'll go to a student leadership meeting, and like the other week I tossed out the idea of putting posters with our school counselor in the helping hand hallways, information and names and contact information, and hanging those in the hallway, and it was done within the next week. So I think like Hands are a really great community where students can have an impact and see that impact, and I'm really grateful that all of you have given the structure for that to grow hold and take place here. It's a really magical experience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's meaningful. Thank you.
That's great, thank you.
Well, we taught one well, anyway. Have a safe trip up to Vermont.
Thank you very much.
That's really a perfect lead into our next recognition. A great community partner that I've come to know quite well over the year and a half is Larry Brundett, and he is with the VFW, and I'd like to call Larry forward, and he has a special award to present tonight.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Larry Brundett. I'm the commander of longstanding, I forgot how many years, of the VFW here in Madison. And we at the VFW are part of the national organization, which is the VFW, and their headquarters in Kansas City. They run 3 or more programs for student education and teacher recognition. We are very fortunate in Madison that we do all of the programs. One of the programs is the Patriots Pen, that is in the grades 6 through 8. 3 students from Polson this year received awards for that program. The other award is the Voice of Democracy, and that is a verbal speech, like a Dale Carnegie thing, which I went through. And a student at Daniel Hand won an award for that. The awards I'm giving out tonight are what I consider the very, very important awards, are Teacher of the Year. Now, we're eligible here in Madison, as Dr. Cook knows. We can nominate 3 teachers every year for this award, 1 elementary, 1 middle, and 1 high school. This year, we are very, very fortunate to have an outstanding teacher who I now understand goes from several schools. He goes from Brown to Polson, and I think here too, right? Okay. So he's a multi-school teacher. His nomination was done by his very, very, very well principal, who's with him tonight, Catherine Hart. And this award went forward from us to the district to the state. And he is taking 2 of the 3 awards tonight, from the district and the local. Don't know why he didn't make the state, but then I don't have anything to do with that, but if I did. So I'd like to call Christopher Pags up forward, along with Catherine. Okay, now we're going to unload. First of all, we'll start with the top and work down. Veterans of Foreign Wars, Christopher Pagliuco, the National Citizen Education Teacher Award presented to you from District 2, VFW Commander Charlie, you can't read his name, Charlie Pickett. Now, we in Madison, we don't go with certificates, we go a little bit more. Christopher from the town of Madison and VFW Post 2096, the Crystal Apple Award for Teacher of the Year. You want to say anything?
Yes, never refuse the mic. First of all, I want to thank Larry for being a partner, particularly with me in our efforts to honor Veterans Day and Memorial Day each year. We work very hard to create a meaningful experience for our veterans as well as our students, and I consider both of those holidays central opportunities for us to build citizenship and gratefulness in our student body, and we've switched it up year in and year out in our efforts to reach the kids in a more meaningful way, and Larry is always a very important part of those ceremonies, and he's always very flexible, and he adds a lot of dignity to our proceeds. Also with Catherine, who her esteem means the world to me, so I thank you very much for that. Working with Catherine as well as our faculty members at really all of the schools is a joy. You know, you can never do anything on your own, as you all know. And finally, just our students are always a delight to work with, and consider myself very fortunate. So thank you.
I want to thank the board and Dr. Cook for cooperating with us, and we'll look forward to Veterans Day, I guess. Is next.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The apple is, put it back in here. The apple
All
is-
right, next item we had before the board tonight was the Chartwells contract, and really it is just a addendum to the current contract. We've made some changes based on need, as the board is aware. Certainly food prices are rising pretty significantly, and we've worked well with Chartwells to respond to that. Art is with us tonight, Art Sickle, who manages the contract, if the board has any questions. But we have, as the board knows, and we've tracked this with the Finance Committee especially, we've had a much better year with food service in terms of cost and profit, and we've done a really nice job, and we haven't had a student rep complain about school food, and so that is a pretty good measure on its own. So I will say the school lunch in Madison is pretty good. So the board has no questions. We do have a motion to approve that later on the agenda.
And the information was in the board packet as well, so. All right.
Safety and security update. I've shared some pieces with the community recently. It has been very difficult. I've just been so impressed with our teachers, our administrators, our paras, all our school staff, especially safety and security staff, have really responded to the tragedy in Texas, and have comforted our students, been there. Certainly we handle things differently at different levels. It's much different, looks much different at the high school that does, in kindergarten, where we're just, more there and ready to respond. School safety and security is near and dear to my heart, as I think is all superintendents. We've done a lot of work in Madison, particularly over the last 10 years, but certainly we'll continue that work going forward. In the last year and a half, the board's been just tremendous in terms of supporting new initiatives and adding to the funds we had. We have some funding in CIP. We doubled that with some funding directly in the board budget last budget year. That's allowed us to increase cameras and monitoring of cameras. We've increased security staff in the district and maintain that. One big piece for us, and really a security measure, though it may not seem like that, is air conditioning, and we've added additional air conditioning. We're going to do that to some classrooms over the summer that are forward facing as a security and safety measure. We've added keyless entry into our buildings. We have looked at all of our entrance points and changed security locations and desks where visitors come in. So we've done a lot. We have ALICE training that has happened in the district before. That's a national program for threat assessment, and that's been on hold during the pandemic. We are resuming that. this year, and then really moving that forward and completing that early next school year. So a lot of work that we've done, and a lot of work still to be done. And obviously now I'm just talking about kind of the school hardening type events. There's also a social emotional, and I think plays a big role in this, and we have added to our schools with social workers that the board has supported, and so we appreciate that as well. You know, and have done a lot. We've added a DESA screening tool, K through 8, to you know, screen our students on social emotional concerns. And then also we have a program that does monitor our students' use on our network of our computers, and provides reports to principals 24/7, and they've replied 24/7. You know, when there's something concerning, and you know, I know our administrators and our staff find that very, very helpful and important to do. And so, just again, really appreciative. It's been a difficult 2 weeks, but you know, we're continuing to move forward here in Madison, and you know, we have a great partnership with Madison Police. We've met with Madison Police and the first Selectwoman, and have more to come, as well as Scott Cochran from Madison Youth and Family Services. So appreciate Chief Drum's support in terms of having more officers in our buildings the last couple weeks, and continue on through the rest of the school year, and have some, like I said, more work to do. So I just wanted to, again, provide that to the board and the public, you know, and just let them know that this is something we're, you know, always working on. So, thank you. The last item we just had a wonderful event that we came from for the board. That's why we're here at the high school tonight, and recognize 5 retirees that it's just a, you know, really a nice event. And as I shared with the board and our retirees, I was glad it was a small group. You know, this is a time we want to hang on to each and every teacher. Don't like to see those retirement notices come forward, although we had 5 very happy people, I know, and then 4 that joined us tonight. We seem very happy with their families as well. So Ileana Andrich, Robert Del Russo, Suzanne Gaskell, Patricia Judson, and Veronica LaVista are all retiring effective June 30th. So we're very happy for them. We know they'll stay in touch, but you know, we're sad to see them go. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cook. All right, board member comments? Any comments down the line? Any comments? All right, well, sadly I have some. I tend to draft my comments so that I can get through them more quickly and efficiently, so I got quite a few this time. I apologize. Since our last meeting, I had the pleasure and honor of attending 4 special events: the National Honor Society induction ceremony, the custodial staff appreciation luncheon, the Daniel Hand Seniors Awards ceremony, and earlier this evening we held our annual retirees ceremony to thank those who have been with us for years, as Dr. Cook just mentioned. These 4 events in combination symbolize what is so special about our district. We had an incredible 43 inductees into the National Honor Society, which speaks to our district's emphasis on educational achievement. Our custodial staff is second to none, and led aptly by Facilities Director Bill McMinn. These folks have had a rough 2 years, and yet they continue to rise to the occasion all day, every day, keeping our buildings and grounds in amazing shape and showing off our pride in our educational system. Even though TJ tries to keep the ceremony moving, our senior awards night speaks to the academic, leadership, and extracurricular achievements of our students. This speaks to our efforts to prepare our students to become lifelong learners and contributors to their communities as they enter a new 21st century world upon graduation. And finally, it's always a poignant opportunity to celebrate the accomplishments of our devoted staff as they look forward to their retirement. In this way, we honor the dedication and devotion of our hardworking and talented staff. I've been filled with pride over these past couple weeks. An important event that I was unable to make was a ceremony at Ryerson for our unified sports teams. This is another shining example of how our district is so special. Thanks to all in our school community for the contributions you make to this amazing community. Congratulations go to the boys tennis team, which won the SCC title for the 4th year. Good luck to the baseball team tonight, which is playing right now in a state playoff round at Dunkin' Donuts Park in Hartford. I wanted to report quickly on the new school building committee. It has continued to meet regularly and it's moving along nicely. Proposals are due on Thursday from the top 4 architect candidates down selected by the committee. Those candidates will be interviewed next week, so things are moving along well to meet the hopeful target date of approval by the Board of Selectmen at their June 27th meeting. The committee also took a unanimous vote to utilize a contract manager at risk for this project instead of a general contractor. This is a smart move, in my opinion, to ensure we have early input from a construction specialist that can help to stave off problems down the road, and which comes with some added contractual protections for the town. It costs a little bit more upfront, but likely saves money and hassle down the road to help the project come in on time and on budget. Finally, we're in the midst of our annual superintendent evaluation, and we'll be holding an executive session on that later this evening. Thank you. Any other board member comments?
That wasn't that long.
No, it wasn't too long. It's about a committee report, I like to keep it to that. All right, so let's move on to audience response to information presented. Any audience members like to share anything based on what we discussed so far this evening? Seeing none. All right, Board of Selectmen Liaison, Scott Murphy. Scott was unable to attend this evening because he's got a conflict with he's also the liaison for the Madison Youth and Family Services Board, and they have a conflicting meeting tonight. He did ask me to mention that his report would include that the sale of Academy School went through. It is final, kaput, we are done, so everything went well, and we are moving on as the voters wanted there. Next item, consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Who's that? I'm sorry, Emily? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Diane. All right, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? All right, that's, are all 9 of us here? Yeah.
Oh,
No,
it's not here.
it's 8. Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. Board committees and liaison updates. Let's start with the Curriculum and Student Development Committee. Steve, please.
Yes, the Curriculum and Student Development Committee met this evening, attended by members Kathy Miller, Jen Gordon, myself, Seth, the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and their guests. The focus of the agenda for the meeting was the English Language Arts curriculum, but in the context of a public law number 21-2, legislation that has come down from the state and the State Department of Education that basically says that by July 1st of 2023, all districts must adopt one of 5 approved reading English language arts curriculum or present a curriculum and seek a waiver for their own curriculum. This is a very important item, and it was a long meeting with a great deal of information, but I'll try and cut to the chase on the key issues. The requirement of the public law left a window of approximately 3 weeks for districts to be able to present what their model curriculum would be that would compete with what the state was offering. The fact that Madison was in a position based on their extensive curriculum work
and professional development and the structure and framework of how that curriculum advances, the district was able, within that window, to submit a proposal to the state in terms of a model curriculum. It was an enormous undertaking, and a good part of the meeting highlighted all of the steps and all the requirements, and we had, a number of the ALA coaches in here speaking to those pieces. Where the process goes at this point is that application has been submitted. Our expectation, our hope, is the state will respond, but by July of this year. And there are potentially three options. One, what we presented could be approved by the state as a model program, which is certainly our hope. Or it could be, we could be granted a waiver with some recommendations of other work we might do to resubmit to have it approved. Or three, it could be rejected, at which point the district would be compelled to purchase one of the 5 approved published curriculums to present in the district, with the potential financial impact, if it came to that, of something probably roughly in the area of about $125,000. The committee listened carefully to an extensive presentation. And I think it's fair to say that each one of us was significantly impressed with the depth and the quality of the application. And, we went into some detail. Coming out of that was an action item from the committee. And it would read, the curriculum committee endorses the adoption of the ELA curriculum and supports the waiver to the State Department of Education in submitting the Madison curriculum as a model curriculum. That was approved by the committee, and we forward that to the board for their review. There was also another small action item from the committee, which was there was a change in the published meeting agenda, and there was a corrected agenda that included these parts for the adoption. That was item number 3 that shifted to the presentation for adoption of the ELA grades K through 3, grades 6 through 8, and the journalism and combat literature curriculum. I'm sure there's a great deal that I am not covering. It was long and in great detail. But this is an important item. I mean, this is about supporting what is clearly a curriculum that there's tremendous investment on the part of the teachers and the coaches. They own this curriculum. They are not just implementing it. And that's a huge difference between accepting a packaged curriculum and implementing it. So hopefully this is something that the full board will support. That's what we're asking for. And I think at this point, that's the end of my report. Gail.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to offer one point of clarification. This process, you submit to either have the committee appointed by the state to accept and approve as one of the 5 programs, 5 or more programs that the state's endorsing, or they will give the district feedback. The next step would be to submit a waiver as the waiver process is defined. So this is not the waiver process, it is actually the program submission process from the state. So
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you for the clarity.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add to that during the public, portion of your report, that while there is an expense involved in us potentially having to adopt a different curriculum, I just want to be clear that, you know, I felt like it was the position of the voting members of the facility, of the curriculum committee, that number was inconsequential to the discussion. It was much more a feeling that after seeing the presentation and after really having a long track record of understanding how Gale leads and how our teachers and coaches respond to and participate with such dedication and devotion to the curriculum development cycle that Gale has implemented here over a decade. You know, we felt strongly that it would be an injustice to our kids to move on to a commercial, off-the-shelf reading program for you know, pre-K to 3. You know, given the strength of our program and what it's done for this district and for our kids. So I don't want there to be a concern that we're being cheap and we're not looking to spend, you know, some money on a curriculum program. I think quite the opposite. We've spent time and effort, and we've made valuable, value-based investments in our professional development and in our curriculum development process. And I think that's what rung pretty clearly, you know, in the votes of the committee.
I would agree, well said, thank you.
Yeah, I have a question. You see right now it's the program submission process, and then like how long does that take before we go on to the application process?
We submitted an application for the program submission, so, yeah, did that help? It's about 30 pages of an application that districts were invited to fill out, either to support a commercial program or the submission of their program within a 3-week period. And what the legislation reads is by July 1, you would be identifying what the programs would be. So I would expect that we're hearing, but however,
It's the state.
it's the state, and they have not yet identified who's leading that literacy research center, as far as I know. So the leadership is not yet in place. So our submission is there in time. But yes, we'll either be hearing that we've been selected, or we'll be hearing feedback based on our appendix. And then the next part is they would develop the waiver process, and
Oh, so they don't even have that process like figured out yet?
no,
I kind of thought. Thank
No.
you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions for Steve or Gail? Okay, Steve, thank you for your excellent report. All right, Facilities Committee, Emily.
Yes, the facilities committee met this evening. We had a full meeting. The first item on the agenda was an update on the Brown School K-5 improvements. So we had 2 of our Texan Architects partners present. They gave a presentation that will be posted online so anyone can see that. Some updates they shared, they held a programming and visioning meeting with Brown, Ryerson, and Jeffrey principals along with facilities staff. They are conducting a conceptual floor plan review for the lower grades, so KN1, which they shared that floor plan with us. Showed us how they're adding bathroom facilities, cubbies to the rooms, working to make the design for those younger learners adaptable and flexible. They also shared with us in the floor plan a learning lab zone, which is sort of a central space with the classrooms around it, which could be a large breakout space for bigger groups, as well as some smaller, more intimate breakout group sessions for smaller group areas for smaller learning sessions. They are looking to have active corridors with more natural light, looking at how to expand the window areas. They also share that there is an opportunity, a design opportunity for an outdoor classroom area. So that is not in the current proposal, but something to think about in the future, which will be pretty exciting. They reviewed the Milestone Schedule. The project is on schedule. They're prepping for permitting and building. And they've, you've been getting really good feedback from the principals about what is important for these kids. Thinking a lot in particular about the entry experiences. You're walking into that kindergarten and first grade wing, what it feels like for the kids. So they continue to do great work, they're on schedule, and if anyone has any questions, their presentation will be shared online. Bill did give some updates on also Brown and Polson. So for the Polson improvements, he's working with Colliers on the RFP. We will be looking to review the RFP. The facilities committee hope to get the RFP out this summer and then bid out work in the fall. The plan, as you know, is to break out the work over 3 summers. So as no one is probably surprised, there are challenges they might anticipate with supply chain and getting some, so he's definitely keeping that in mind, as Bill does. As you know, the generator for the town shelter is part of the plan, but that is funded separately through the town. So also Bill's looking to consider geothermal for the Polson project. That's, as he said, is definitely a very complicated project, more complicated, he shared, than the Brown improvements or the new school, because you're working within this existing building and all that's there. So if anyone's up for a challenge, Bill, I'm sure can do it. Brief updates, Brown and Polson entryways, planning's going well so far. They plan to get started fast and furious on June 20th, so that the work will be done for the beginning of the school year in the fall. He gave an update on the EV charging locations. As you know, they could be at Brown, Polson in hand. Bids are due June 9th. Bill's gonna keep us posted. It's still a work in progress if it happens. As Seth mentioned, the new school status, they're down to 4 firms, as you heard. I don't know if you mentioned the timing of it, Seth, but Monday night, they have 4 firms, Monday night at the Hammond Asset Room. These meetings are open to the public as they review the 4 remaining firms, so 2 firms on Monday night at 5:30, and then the 2 remaining 4 firms Wednesday night at 5:30. They all have strong experience, and then the goal is to have a decision on which firm to go through and present that to the Board of Selectmen by June 27th. So lots more, I'm sure, will be coming that way. And then finally, Bill shared and reviewed with us the draft CIP plan for 2023-24. You all should have received that via email. The plan is that the Facilities Committee will have a special additional Facilities Committee meeting ideally next week to review it in more detail. Bill went through it with us. Our hope is to meet next week, review it, approve it, bring it to the board for approval June 21st, as the town would like it July 1st. So stay tuned on that as well. Finally, Bill gave some facility updates. He's been getting bids for garbage collection, recycling collection, and septic pumping. If anyone is interested, I can share that information with you. And then finally, he did request that we approve a donation of furniture to Food for the Poor. Furniture from Jeffrey and Daniel Hand High School. They have worked, this is a charitable donation to this International Relief and Development Organization. So the Facilities Committee did approve that request to come to the full board tonight. So I would just ask that we add an item to the agenda for the board to vote on that donation. Perhaps, Seth, around item 16, I think it was.
15.
Agenda, 15?
Yeah, 15 would make the most sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we are going to talk more about recycling in the future, because that was a topic of interest. There was no public comment, and the meeting adjourned at 5:33. End of report.
Thank you.
Question.
Go ahead.
Is Bill gonna be staying on through like the whole school building process, do you know?
So at this point, I can share it, he shared it with our custodians, that he plans to at least work 2 more years. So,
Yeah.
starting July 1. So it doesn't get the building open, but I also know he's very dedicated.
Gives us 2 years to persuade him to stay.
Yeah, another year, yeah, exactly. And then I just would like to add to that report, I was very excited to note that the CIP report that Bill provided, that we'll be going over in more detail this week. So I would hasten to say it's still a draft, but that draft was very encouraging in that he basically laid out about 13 years worth of anticipated maintenance projects. And so what used to be called the 10-year plan of maintenance before our recent school renovations referendum was basically replaced by this 13-year prospective. And the 13-year plan before the 10-year plan for $100 million was really about 13 years for almost $110 million. So when you compare that to the 13 years he laid out this evening, it's down to about $51 million. Again, that's draft information, but that is very encouraging. And again, we owe a debt of gratitude to the town for the wisdom of passing the referendum so that we could get our facilities in order. So I think that was important to mention. Any other questions for facilities? No? Okay, thank you. Good report. Finance Committee, Galen.
Thank you, Seth. We have not met since the last meeting. Our next meeting is 2 weeks from today at 5:30, June 21st. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Galen? All right, Personnel Committee.
We also
Maureen,
have,
thank you.
we also have not met since our last meeting, but the MACE negotiations are continuing.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Policy Committee, Diane.
So we have not met, however, we have a bunch of policies for a first read this evening, and I just wanted to highlight a few things, go through them pretty quickly. So policy number 3260 is the sale and disposal of books, equipment, and supplies. It was formerly sale and disposal of books, equipment, and supplies, and I just wanted to point out that in the revised version, it looks like lines 11 to 17 are changed. They're actually the same as the current policy. It's the rest of the policy that's been revised. So that's just a little bit different than what we normally see. And the reasoning for the changes was to align with Shipman and Goodwin's, their policy. And we did keep in the part about the items with value of less than $500 and over $500. So lines 11 to 17 are actually the same, and they're kept in from the previous policy. The next one is policy 3453, school activity funds. These changes were also made as recommended by Shipman and Goodwin, which require a treasurer for the school activity funds with more accountability and transparency. So you can compare the revised version to the previous version. Then we have policy 4010, the prohibition on recommendations for psychotropic drugs. These changes were also made as advised by Shipman and Goodwin with updated Connecticut general statutes and definitions. The next policy for a first read is policy number 4040, the plan for minority educator recruitment, formerly the minority recruitment plan. These are just minor changes. There was discussion about whether or not to use the term minority, and we sent an email to Shipman and Goodwin to have them review it, and they said to keep it as is. So it's just minor changes. We added the term, you can see in lines items 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7, we added or its designee. So that's a minor change for 4040. The next first read is policy number 4112, the hiring of personnel. This policy was actually completely rewritten and revised to align with Shipman and Goodwin's policy. Therefore, again, when you see lines 25 to 28 that are underlined, it looks like those are the changed policy, but no, that's actually what we kept in from the previous current policy, and everything else is actually rewritten. The next policy is 4217, the evaluation, termination, and non-renewal of athletic coaches, formerly athletic coaches. The definition of athletic director was added. Most of the policy is essentially the same. It looks like there's a lot of changes, but it was like minor rewording and kind of shuffling around. But I would say it, just read it and note that it's, when you compare it, it's essentially the same. Policy number 5090.9, the use of private technology devices by students, formerly electronic communication devices. This is completely revised to be more in alignment with our current policy with students being allowed to use their own devices. So that is considerably different from the previous policy. Then we have a new regulation which does not require our vote, but it's here for your perusal. It is a regulation 4218R, Concussion Management and Training for Athletic Coaches. Formerly, it was policy 5120.2.1, head injuries. So it is a first read for rescission of policy 5120.2.1, head injuries, and then the regulation is just for your information. But it is an important regulation. And I think that's it. End of report.
All right, any questions for Diane?
I had a question about the head injury, because we talked about that a little bit last, at our last personnel meeting.
Yes.
We talked about continuing the conversation about a head injury policy in general, more for academics and for the teachers and for gym teachers and so forth. And I'd just like to have that conversation and keep that open. You know, my personal feeling is that, you know, yes, it's critical to add the policy for the athletic coaches and trainers that was added, and I think that's wonderful. But I think we also need one for head injuries that addresses things from the academic standpoint. It's in that policy, but it's a little bit buried in there, in my opinion, and I think that can be expanded upon. And I'd love it if we could have, you know, a deep dive into that, a conversation about that.
So we're gonna add that to the next policy committee meeting to go over that again, along with a couple of other policies that we didn't get to for the last
Okay.
agenda.
Okay.
So it's not off the table.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
just, we're going to rescind this because we have a new regulation, but we can discuss it would be a brand new policy.
How about instead, we add the brand new policy as the one that Shipman and Goodman is suggesting, and then we
But this is a
modify
regulation.
that one. Well, could we add that, and then instead of rescinding head injuries, keep it so that we can modify that later?
So you're suggesting that we do not have a
Rescind
first
that.
read for rescinding and table it?
Yes. And we work at rewriting that.
So,
So the terminology we would most likely use, and we have kind of a draft of this, we've used it for situations, it's like a return to learn, so I think it would be totally different number in title, and it would be a reg to kind of, to basically mirror the reg for concussion management and training for coaches.
would it still fall under personnel? Because it wouldn't be
Yes.
this one. So this
Right.
policy that we want to rescind, the 5120.2.1, is under the student
Right.
section about head injuries. So this one we would still want to rescind, but you're saying to make a new regulation.
Return to learn is kind of the other half of things, where that one talks more about athletics, this one is
Right.
more about return to the classroom, you know, testing, accommodation, things like that.
And so, do you have the new regulation written?
I have a drafted one,
Okay.
yes. Yeah.
So then that will be coming to policy, and does that address the
I'd be
issue?
more comfortable if we tabled rescinding the current head injury policy. And then we had the conversation that we're talking about.
So,
Well, we could do that. We could have that discussion at the next policy committee meeting, if you as chair would
So-
countenance that.
so we can do that, and then if there's an amendment to it, we can always add the amendment before the next read,
Yeah,
but it would still be a second read, and. Right?
yeah, we could do that. I mean, that's the whole purpose of having multiple reads, is so that you can make changes and amendments with
Right,
each iteration.
and we're gonna meet
so-
for the next meeting anyway, so
Right.
it will come back to policy. We're not voting on this tonight anyway, this is just a
Okay.
first read.
Okay.
So even if you do a first read tonight with a policy, you can amend it before the second read, and it can still go for the second read. So we will do that.
Okay.
And even a rescission is subject to the second read
Right.
anyway, so.
Correct.
So this will not be rescinded until. we
Tonight?
have
Not
the
tonight,
conversation
correct.
to-
This is just, all the
Amend it.
policies tonight are just a first read.
Okay. Well, that's my input on that one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Any other questions for policy? Okay, thank you. Learn Liaison. Marianne was unable to be here this evening. She asked me to inform everyone that there is a Learn meeting coming up on Thursday, and she will attend that, and she'll report back on that at the next meeting. Any questions for Mary Ann? I can pretend to be Mary Ann. No, I'm kidding. All right. 10.7, Town American Rescue Plan Funding Ad Hoc Committee. Emily.
Yes, we have a meeting tomorrow at 6, followed by a public forum that's open to the public at 7 on Zoom and in person at the Hammonasset Room. The public forum is meant to inform the public about the availability of these funds, the process for applying for them. There was a big article, I think it's on the Source this past week about it for more information. So we have not met since the last board meeting, but put that on your calendars. Public forum tomorrow at 7.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none. Town Marijuana Advisory Committee. Again, that's an ad hoc committee, and Mary Ann asked me to report that the next meeting date and time is to be determined. They kind of haven't had a meeting in a while, and they're still waiting to set up the next meeting date. So she'll report back on that next meeting as well. All right, so now number 11, action item, motion to approve the minutes of the May 24th, 2022 Board of Education meeting.
So moved.
That's from Diane. And a second?
Second.
From Jen, thank you. All right, any discussion on the minutes or any corrections or recommendations? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Okay, so it carries 8-0. Thank you. Action item number 12, motion to approve the trip to Spain dated June 23rd, 2023 through July 1st, 2023. And that was in our packet. This is a trip that has long been done by some of our Spanish teachers. My daughter went on it in her junior year. It was amazing, life-changing. We tend as a board, I think, to favor these. So I will ask for a motion to approve it. Who was that? Steve, and then second by?
I'll second it.
Okay, Emily. Okay, any discussion? Discussion? Seeing none. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? All right, carries 8-0, thank you. Kids, I know will appreciate that. Action item number 13, motion to approve removal of used books and equipment. Do I have a motion to approve the removal of the attached set of books and equipment?
So moved.
All right, that's Kathy, thank you. Second?
Second.
Second from Maureen. Thank you. Any discussion?
I have a
Yes.
couple of
Sure.
questions / statements. One of the things that I was wondering about was when the list is made of, what books are going to be removed from the library. I know on some of them it says it's lost, missing, damaged, outdated content or curriculum no longer used. So I guess my question is, when you look at the books, I wonder who is making the decision to remove them? And I just want, there were a couple of issues I had first of all. So I actually went through the list, as I'm sure you knew that I would. And I was looking at specifically Polson. And I know, it's probably this, the book has been there for a long time, it's old and worn and want to be removed. But I actually saw the title of the book. And it's written by an author. I actually read the book, and it's considered young adult. And, Polson is typically ages 11 to 14. Now, having read the book, and knowing that it's a 5th book in the series, and I'm not going to say specifically which one it is, but in my opinion, I would not be comfortable having my child in that age group reading that book, because I have read the book and it is explicit. So having looked at that and knowing that it was like young adult, it made me think of, okay, these are the books that are being removed, and I'm assuming, you know, that it all falls under the idea of, well, they're worn, they're used, they're damaged, lost. But I also wondered, like, because of the way that it's termed, it's just like, oh, it's no longer used, or it's out of circulation, like not circulated. So I guess my question is, the decision to remove a book for it not being circulated or whatever, whose decision is it? Is it a single librarian? Is it, I just want to make sure that books are not being removed because of one person's opinion of the book. And also, I feel like, who's also deciding what books go into the library? So I want this more to be an opening of a discussion that we can have as a board and later on, that I think, you know, as we saw at previous Board of Ed meetings, we know that parents are very much more involved now than they have been perhaps in the past, or more vocal about it. And I know there was some concern about, you know, certain books in certain libraries previously. And so I would like to know, you know, what kind of committee, or, you know, who are the people deciding what books come in and when they go out, just to make certain that it's not being subject to any sort of bias in any which way, and that parents are sort of more involved and more informed about what is in their child's school library and what they have access to. Now, that being said, you know, when my daughter was in 5th grade, she had a great teacher, and at the time, of course, it was pre-COVID, so I was allowed, you know, to go into the classroom during the orientation, and I saw the classroom library, and I saw that there were particular books that I did not want my daughter yet reading, because I know my daughter better than anyone else, probably, so I knew what she is sensitive to and what she would be drawn to, or if other people are reading it, she might want to read it, but that I was not comfortable with her at that sort of age or maturity level to read, despite her being, you know, capable of reading it. And so I had a conversation with the teacher saying, you know, she will read every book that you have in your library because she's a voracious reader, but I don't want her reading this, and I will tell her that, but I would like you to, you know, just kind of keep an eye, not really police, but sort of like keep an eye, let me know type thing. And she was fabulous, and it was never an issue. But with COVID, I know, you know, people were not in the classrooms, and I know a lot of times the children will choose books that are in the school classroom library as opposed to in the school library due to convenience or whatever. So I just want to open the conversation about what books are in the library and who is choosing them, who has a say in choosing them, and also who has a say in what goes out of the library.
I'll take a first whack at this, and then admit where I have some blind spots and don't know. I know that you're not on the curriculum committee, so you didn't have the opportunity to see this, but a couple of months ago, we had a presentation from the librarians, and it was interesting to me to see that the library and media center librarians treat the selection of books in the library kind of as a curriculum matter. And there's like a curriculum approach, and they're informed by scientific, collegial understandings and input as to what's appropriate for what age range. I know that, you know, certain people, you know, individuals all have different concepts of what's appropriate for what age range. But by and large, they implement a nationally recognized curriculum kind of process. And again, it's honed to Madison's particular needs and requirements. So I don't know what goes on with the selection of books for classroom libraries, and I would invite either Gail or Dr. Cook to comment further, or, you know, Steve, maybe, whoever
Actually, Diane, there was that presentation and it is posted on the district website.
Okay.
Under curriculum, it says library materials right on the front page. And the question, how are library materials selected, is answered. The state and national guidance exists on roles and responsibilities of developing collections. What if I find a material offensive? How can I monitor what my child is selecting in the library? And then the actual presentation itself is also posted. So
Thank you.
I think your questions might find a lot of answers in
Yeah.
Okay.
thank
but
you,
it's
that's-
right on the main,
Yeah.
if you hit curriculum, it's right on the bulleted list, and it's right there.
And then the only other comment I had was, I just want to know if, so I noticed that they use, a sort of system to spit out these things, and one was decidedly different from the rest. And so I'm just wondering about parity between the libraries and their systems that they're using. So Jeffrey's was decidedly different from the rest.
Yeah, it was more of a CSV file or a.
Yeah, and I was just wondering if they all have the exact same systems and
They use the same system.
these are,
Yeah.
that's each option.
Yeah.
Could be just how they
Yeah,
downloaded it
chose
or
to,
something.
okay.
But, yeah, that's district supported, so we don't have different systems. And it's actually one of the ways we curate the libraries when they come together in a move. We look at those same systems and we have to decide what a K through 5 library would have in it versus a 6 through 8. So that's all done.
I was very surprised to see that particular book listed in Polson's library.
It could have been there, well, it would have been, actually, you would have known about it through the last building move, which would have been 2019. And that would have been checked through that library system. So they actually account for all the books and go through that.
But I would imagine if I had each and every one of you read it, I think that you would be quite surprised at its content in a 6 to 8 school library. I'll tell you the name of the book later.
Yeah, parents actually have access to what their kids are checking out through Destiny and Overdrive. And they can log on to see what their kids are checking out. That was one of the Q&As.
I think it's kind of a difficult age span, though, 6 to 8, because you have 11 and you have 14, and it's a big difference.
There's a
Maturity
huge difference in all the buildings, you look at all of them, it is tricky. Which is why we try to make transparent as much as we can. So parents have access to it. But definitely check out the website if you have more questions.
Thank you. You feel like that was answered, at least enough for this evening?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of mention it and open it for discussion, because I know it's gonna come up again, with regard to parents and being informed of what their kids are reading and what the kids are choosing, and how it's chosen and how things are removed, and it's sort of a national issue.
Yeah, well, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, or any other discussion, I'm sorry, for this motion to approve removal of used books and equipment, which is already moved by Kathy, seconded by Maureen. If no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Okay, 8-0, thank you very much. Action item 14, motion to approve the donation of books earned from the Ryerson Book Fair from Ryerson PTO. Motion to approve donation of books earned from the Ryerson Book Fair. Okay, so the Ryerson PTO holds an annual book fair, and based on that book fair, they are then able to make a donation of books based on how much they sell. And that's how it works. And because it's a donation, we're asked to pass a vote on that donation. It's a wonderful donation. It's a wonderful program. We thank the Ryerson PTO. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Okay, Diane. Second by Jen. Okay, thank you. Any discussion?
It's really just a wonderful program. Scholastic Book Fairs allows you to like sort of earn books to give to the teachers, and I was very involved at the time at Ryerson with their book fair, and it's really a wonderful thing. The teachers can come in and they can choose the books that they want for their school, for their particular classroom libraries, and then with the profits made, the profits are returned as books, and then so it's a wonderful program, and it's really a worthwhile activity, the whole fair.
And what we were able to do, actually, it was a value of $3,645.10 in books. So each classroom teacher, there's 18 classrooms plus the library, the teachers got to physically come down and have 200 scholastic dollars essentially to shop with, and they were walking out with stacks of books like this to refresh their classrooms, and it was very exciting. We had a lot of great participation from the families. The kids were so excited to shop at the book fair. I was very excited to use the scanner gun. And, it was a wonderful experience, and we were very excited and pleased to be able to donate so much to each classroom. So, yeah, it was a great thing.
That's fantastic. That sounds great. I used to love book fairs when I was a kid.
It's the best thing ever. Kids come in
yeah.
with their wish list,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh,
and
man.
they leave and the parents buy everything on the wish list.
Oh, I used to love that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the
The
tchotchkes, as they call it. The big hand pointer.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
So, that's okay. We're allowed to have a little bit of fun. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of approving the donation of books from the Ryerson Book Fair, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. All right, at this point, I believe Emily, as the Chair of Facilities, wanted to move to add an action item to the agenda at item number 15. So I'll take that motion from Emily.
Yep, I move to add an agenda item to approve a donation for Food for the Poor of furniture items to be donated from Jeffrey and Daniel Hand High School.
Okay, do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Who was, Maureen, I heard
Any one of
first?
us, anyone, pick one.
Okay, so now we have the motion, and it's seconded to add an action item to the agenda, to approve the donation of furniture to Food for the Poor. Do any discussion on adding the agenda item? Seeing none, all in favor of adding the item, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. Now, the substantive motion, I will also consider Emily the move-in here. Emily, you wanna?
Yep, I'd like to make a motion to approve the donation of furniture from Jeffrey Elementary School and Daniel Hand High School to Food for the Poor.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Galen? All right, any discussion on this?
So I have a question.
Sure.
So I don't know if you remember, was it last year, or the year before, when we were gonna get rid of furniture, and it was like single desks and single chairs. We thought, oh, who's gonna need that? And then COVID struck, and we did need them, and we dug them out of storage, dusted them off. So I guess my question now is, because we're donating them, I'm assuming they're still in, usable condition. So we really don't have any need to keep single desks or single chairs anymore. God forbid we need them again.
The furniture that we purchase now are ones that can work on their own or together. So it's not like we're going from tables to having to have single desks again. So, but no, that is a good point. We also don't have much storage as a district. So I think we get to the point where, having gone through that a couple times with that cycle, we know like what we're gonna use again and what not. We do have some places, and we do store some, but we felt we could.
So we have what we
donate
need
this.
in case we need it.
Right, yeah.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, good question. Any further discussion? I'll call the motion. All in favor of approving the donation of furniture to Food for the Poor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? 8-0, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, renumbered action item number 16, motion to approve Chartwells Contract effective July 1st, 22. This is the moment that Art's been waiting for. We should have bumped this up to number 1, I'm sorry.
He's enjoyed every minute.
Sorry, Mr. Committee.
I know, thanks, Art.
All right, so we basically got a little synopsis of what this motion is about from Dr. Cook a little bit earlier, and, you know, the information was in our packet. Does anybody have any questions, or do we have any discussion? Well, let me first ask for a motion to approve the Chartwells contract effective July 1st.
So moved.
Steve? And
Second.
a second from Diane. Thank you. All right, now any questions or discussion on the motion?
So did the prices for all the meals actually go up?
They're gonna go up 50 cents across the board for the base meal price.
Above what is listed here, or?
No, it's what is.
This is the 50-cent increase,
That
okay.
is the 50 cent.
Tells you how much I pay attention.
Well, you should
My
have
daughter buys
75.
every day, I have no idea what she's buying.
You know, they'll start at 375 in the elementaries and go up. I think I know what document you're looking at.
Yes.
All right, any other questions or any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving Chartwell's contract effective July 1st, 2022, as negotiated by Art Sickle, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0, thank you. Art, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, renumbered item number 17, any old business? Renumbered item number 18, future agenda items. Renumbered item number 19, meetings or dates of importance, those are attached. Renumbered item number 20, we are in the midst of our superintendent evaluation, and we will, hang on one second. Okay, and so I need a motion to enter executive session along with Dr. Cook to discuss central office contracts.
So moved.
Second from Diane, second from Kathy. All in favor of entering executive session, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? All right, just right there.
Oh.